Well, I think a perfect example from my shows, we had Uma Thurman as a guest star, and I didn't know her at all. Obviously, I was a fan of her work. But really, I mean, I think you just sort of feel out the person and whether, and how they like to work. And it was a gradual getting to know Uma, because I think she wasn't quite sure what she was getting into. She even said that herself. She's like, I can't believe I'm singing and dancing on this show. But I mean, she was lovely. But I don't know, I just gave her time to feel comfortable. I just always try to give people their space, because I would feel like it'd be really awkward to come into a place where everyone knows each other. And
Once that synergy is started.
And for you, Catherine, it might be a little different because it's just one season so far. Are
Right.
people still trying to like find their way around each other? Or?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we all pretty much felt pretty comfortable with each other from the beginning. And all of our guest stars were pretty established. So, Bernadette Peters is a veteran of the stage and film. So, I don't know. I think it'll be different for next season to see how things are different from the first.
Sure. And we were just talking a bit off camera about you've got this upcoming season going and you're talking to a new showrunner, and it got me curious for you all. How do you feel about having input in sort of the creative direction of your character? Is that something you take ownership of after a while? How do you, because that could be a little sensitive going to the creatives and saying, well, here's what I think. But do you feel like you need to do it?
Yes.
And you've only been doing this for a season, and yet you were, why did you feel so passionate about sort of making your case?
Well, I think you become very protective of your character. I mean, I know from myself, I feel that. And actually, Raza Jaffrey, who played my boyfriend on the show, we would get into like arguments where he'd be defending his character and I'd be defending my character. I'm like, yeah, but you were such a jerk. Like, so what do you expect Karen to do? So, I mean, I just think that sometimes you almost feel like you know your character better than anybody. Sure. So I just feel like there's some sort of responsibility you feel as an actor to keep the integrity of your character, whatever kind of integrity that is that your character has.
Can you?
So how about I just don't read any of them?
Huh. So, I mean, it sounds like you're all kind of your consensus here. Is this kind of all of your approaches here, where you sort of bid in early and it was, all right, I'm just going to pull back? And the interesting thing, though, is that, for the most part, your shows are pretty well respected and critically acclaimed, but I guess, you can't get 100% approval, but that little bit kind of stings, I guess. So, for you, Catherine, you're on Twitter, for instance. What's your approach?
Well, yeah, I'm way too sensitive to read any kind of good or
That's
bad
okay.
thing. I mean, I get my feelings hurt, so I would never do that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm actually surprised by Twitter. I mean, maybe now that people know that I really don't. I know it's sort of probably cliche to say, like, I don't read my mentions, but of course you go and you like flick through some of your mentions and stuff. But I'm really surprised by, I'd say 99% of the things are really people who actually are liking what you do, like the show, and I don't know, it's not as negative as I would have thought. If it had been really negative, I would just stop it, because it just, you'll never remember the positive, you'll remember the, for me it's really more of a tool just to, get information out to people who actually care about what you have to say. So,
Sure.
Following you.
Yeah.
And Twitter.
The awards, Emmy Awards were kind of here as part of that whole sort of scene, and I'm curious, is this something that is even sort of plays in your mind as working actresses, where it's an incentive to do better, or it's just, part of the job?
I'm not quite sure about what I'm doing here. Anyway,
Well,
I mean, this is obviously my first season on a
Sure.
scripted television show, so I'm just happy to
Along for the ride.
and happy to have an opportunity to talk about the show and hope that people will keep watching. Well, I find maintaining the relationship with my two little chihuahuas is very difficult with my schedule.
Listen, dogs are people too.
No, I mean, I think I have a husband, so just like anything, you find a balance and you just make it work.
For any of you, though, maybe you kind of don't want to bring your work to the viewing experience. You're just a fan watching a show. Do any of you relate to that, or you're able to sort of draw that line?
I mean, I feel like when you're watching a great show, you don't have to have that like mask of I'm critiquing right now because it's just you're just like a regular viewer. You fall into the world of loving those characters in the show, and so you're viewing it like anybody else
You
would.
get sucked in.
That's
Sure.
how I feel.
You're both an actress and a performer, and you get to sort of put both out there on a TV show. And I'm curious, does that bring sort of like an additional challenge for you, or you're just good at both and that's what it is?
Sure. I mean, there's twice as much to learn.
Oh, I can imagine.
So, but it also makes it so special, you know, to be able to do so many things in one show. But when I'm in that bubble, like you said, I'm sort of constantly learning things, learning dance steps. So I'll be like in the kitchen, like
So it's really three things.
going over dance steps and then, well, the recording process for me is like the quickest, easiest part of it because, you know, it's sort of like your way to learn the lyrics that you have to shoot, you know, the next day because you have the lyrics in front of you. So it's great. I mean, it just makes it that much more fulfilling, I think.
And I'm curious, as you three listen to a woman who has to, you know, not only act but sing and dance. I mean, is that something you could wrap your head around, or does it seem like, all right, you know, if you got to do it, that's the job?
I'm
or?
jealous. I know the energy of music and dance.
Right.
It's so exciting. I think it must be a
is fun.
blast. You must have a blast.
We have a fun time.
Yeah, I just watch it with a big smile on my face because I, love doing musicals in, high school and college, but that was the last time. And so I feel like, how do you learn it so fast on that schedule and make it look so good,
Lots of people helping.
I'm sure. So, and another way that you guys are different than Catherine is you're, 3, 4, 5 seasons into your show. And ladies, I really appreciate you coming out and doing this. Thanks
Thank you for
coming.
having us.
Thank you.
All
Thank you.
right.